Okay guys, welcome. This is just a test stream. I hope you guys can hear me well. If anything is wrong with the audio or with my voice or the volume of Ableton, just let me know in the chat. I'm gonna be testing the stream today. It won't be too long. It's just gonna be a test to see if my PC is actually able to handle this, because I'm working on an old PC, so let's see how it goes. If you guys have any questions, just let me know in the chat. I'm always happy to answer your questions. To anybody who doesn't know me, I'm a music producer and I make drum and bass, and I work in Ableton Live. Let's see, the high end is the high in your voice. Is it better right now? So, yeah, let's see. Let's just get into it. I've been working on something, and okay, it sounds good. Okay, let's go. I've been working on something, and it's just a bass that I've been working on today. So, let's see how that sounds. I'm going to get my headphones. One moment. No, the track on the beginning, that was the track Kruk Tiger Fist. It's a free track, so you can get it on SoundCloud for free, I think. I can put a link to the track in the chat. It's that track right there. Yeah, I've been working on a bass, and I literally just started this like I don't know, half an hour ago, so let's see how this sounds. And I had some drums with it. I'm not gonna give you feedback right now. I will be giving feedback maybe on some future stream. I'm not sure when I will do that, but I'll let you guys know. If you guys want to get feedback on your tracks, you can also join my Discord server. I've put the link in the description of this stream, so you can actually join my Discord server. We've got a feedback channel right there where you can actually share your tracks. There's one thing though, you gotta give other people feedback as well. So that way the whole channel doesn't turn into one pile of just people dropping their tracks in there. You know, everybody wants to get a little bit of feedback, so that way all of you will get a bit of feedback. So if you want to be part of that, just check out the description and join the Discord server. I mean, I'm on there pretty much every day, and yeah, I'll see you guys there. So is that a live drum kit? No, it's actually just a loop that I got from a sample pack. What I do when I start making a bass, I usually like to just have a little bit of a drum loop behind it to just know, kind of know where the bass sits and how it sounds with a couple of drums. And to save myself time, I just drop in a drum loop. I'm not really gonna use it like that in a track. I mean, this is literally two layers. That's just coming from a sample pack, and that's also coming from a sample pack, and that's just there for me while I'm designing the bass. So what's on my drum bus? Currently nothing that's actually doing anything, I think. Let's see. No, this all turned off. It's really nothing. There's nothing happening right now. And on the tracks itself, there's nothing happening either. So, nothing. It's just the samples, man. Really. And yeah, I just have these there, and what I do normally, I can turn these off for a bit. And let's see, create an audio track. I just play the bass and then I drop in like, let's see, I've got a folder open right here. Come on, play, yes. So I just drop in a loop like that. And let's set the warp mode to repitch. And what I do is I just play it with the bass and then I just start dropping in different loops. And what I'm looking for is just, I'm not really looking for a loop that works and that I'm gonna use in the track. I'm just looking for, I guess, the rhythm, a rhythm that works with the bass that I've got going already. And that's, I think, really powerful, because you can always start replicating the rhythm of the loop, and you can really quickly just check out different loops and different rhythms with the bass that you've got going, and that's really, really helpful. I mean, let's do it with the bass. And you can literally just check different rhythms. And that's, in my opinion, pretty helpful. Now, I was just playing around with that and I found these two, and they actually went together pretty well. But there's a lot we need to do to it, because this is really stereo. Well, it doesn't look to be that stereo, but it sounds really stereo. I guess we definitely need to control the low end, and I would add like a synthesized kick drum underneath it to give it a solid low end, I guess. But I do like the live sound of that drum loop, so I might actually just you know, use parts of it and just resample them and try to make them sound better. Let's get rid of this. Do I ever use FM8? Yeah, I do use FM8 sometimes. Not too much though. I usually just go for operator. I find operator to be pretty powerful. Although I really love the envelopes in FM8. I mean, the envelopes in FM8 are just so powerful. I mean, if Ableton would come out with Ableton 10, I would really hope that they would put some new envelopes inside operator, and especially envelopes with loop points and stuff like that. That would be really great. Some saturation would probably go well with it. What do you mean, on the drums or on the bass? I mean, the bass definitely needs some saturation and some processing, but I was just kind of working on a rhythm of the bass, and I really just started this. There's literally, I guess, 10 minutes of work into it. On the drums, okay. Yeah, I guess we can use some saturation on the drums later. I would have to, I'll probably work on the drums a bit in a moment. Let's just see with the bass. I wanna, because right now, let's just show you what I did with the bass actually. Because, I'm not sure. Let's turn everything off. I just started with a saw wave actually. A saw wave with 7 voices. And I have this envelope, LFO number 4, controlling the level. And it's just doing this. So we're getting that really detuned sound, and I've brought the width down a little bit. Doesn't make that much of a difference, but because it just sounds nice. Can you play the damn song? Well, I just played it, there's not really that much to it. I've added a low pass filter, and that is being controlled by this LFO, which is almost the same rhythm, it's slightly different. But that just adds a little bit of character to it, I guess. It's nice to have two different ones, it's you get a little bit more control. And that's really shaping the sound. And then I have another filter in here. And I literally just added that second filter after I did the distortion, so the distortion is really bringing out a lot in this sound. And then we have the delay, which I didn't use yet, and then we have the multiband compressor, and that really brings out the high end. So can you make a reese that sounds liquid with filtered like stigma or something? I don't know, but I don't know, if you mean the track Stigma from Noisia, that's not liquid, so I don't really know what you mean, a reese that sounds liquid with filtered like Stigma. Not really that sure what you mean with that. Any tips that your track doesn't sound kinda empty without pushing basses over other basses, or how would you put a bass line over another bass line? When you want to layer bass lines, it's actually, you can do that, it's pretty simple. You just gotta make sure that when you layer two bass lines, because the pitch is so low, usually it doesn't work too well if the two basses are in a different key. So I would usually try to have the two basses in the same key, or if they have pitch movement on it, to give them the same pitch movement. That usually works really well. And then the other thing you pretty much always will have to do is take out all of the low frequencies from one of the two basses, because otherwise they're most often just gonna clash with each other. It's gonna muddy up the low end, and you really don't want to have that. So the key to really layer your basses is to definitely EQ them, and to only use the low end of one of the two layers, if that makes any sense. Now let's see. This definitely needs some distortion. Let's see, I had something on the track. Yeah, because we're using a really stereo sound. You definitely want to add some processing to it to control the bass and to make the bass mono. So what I did is I just added an EQ8, set it to mid-side mode, and then I switched to the side channel, and here I literally just added a high pass. And you can control the position. Now it's pretty much mono. Now I don't want to have too much stereo content going on in the low end, because that's going to ruin up the bass when we're going to process it later on. And we really want to have a consistent low end to well, reinforce the bass. Now there's one thing I did in Serum, and I think that really, well, it changed the sound slightly, and I added a sub to the sound, to the patch, and I brought the level all the way down, but I used the FM from the sub, and I really just added only 12%. It did, I don't know, it did change the sound slightly. Let's see. What are your thoughts on sub separation on modulated basses? Do you strip your sub frequencies out and then add a separate sub, or do you normally keep the sub using band splitting? That completely depends on the sound, actually. I like to have my sub in the bass itself, Reason for that is usually because I just wanna have the sub to follow the bass in terms of movement. So I find when I use a separate sine wave sub, it takes a lot of effort to get that sub to really follow the same movement and the same pattern as the main bass. So I usually just like to have it in the sound itself. But you know, sometimes that just doesn't work. And if that happens, well, then you gotta work with a separate layer. And honestly, that's also an option. It just completely depends on the sound in the track, and if I can get it to work within the sound, and if not, I'll switch to a separate sub. Yeah, it's all about that, basically. When you create a kick, do you edit samples or do you use VSTs to create the kicks, such as kick 2? Well, I really recently got kick 2. Before that, I usually was just using operator for kick drums, or well, any synth basically is good for kick drums, any synth that has good envelopes. But I usually just work in a combination of samples and synthesis. I like to start out with samples, and then at some point when I feel like the kick drum needs a solid low end that I cannot get out of the sample, then I would probably go for maybe a synthesized layer and then high pass the main kick drum sample so that I can make them work together. I guess that is something I do normally. And what are some ways to make them sound hard? That's all about saturation, basically. You know, just saturate the kicks. That's all that matters, pretty much. Just basically everything to my drums. It's just adding a bit of compression to even out all the peaks, and then it's mainly just adding slight distortion or slight saturation. If you think something is missing from your track but you don't know what to add, yeah, that's always a difficult one. I would say just experiment, man. Just try out some stuff. Maybe try processing some sounds that you've already got. You know, export them to audio and put on effects and just resample them. Try to get some new stuff from it, and hopefully you get some inspiration and find something that works with the track. Yeah, I'm using Serum. Serum is good, man. Massive is good too. Both are good. I mean, hey, Paul Mute, that's an interesting question. I don't know, man. I actually don't know if I would be able to eat myself. I don't think I can. Where I'm from, Leonard. I'm from the Netherlands, man. So I'm from Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'm using 64-bit Ableton as well. Do you own any hardware synths or samplers? No, I don't own any hardware synths or samplers. I do have a hardware compressor, but that's pretty much it. Could someone explain me what the two different colored lines in EQ8 are? What do you mean? Oh, the two different colored lines. Because I'm working in mid-side mode, so right here I'm working in mid-side mode. Currently I'm in the mid mode, so that's the blue line. And if I switch to the side mode, that's the side line. So I'm basically processing everything that's in the middle separately from everything that's in the sides of the channel. So that's basically what the two lines do. Do you use the formula parser? In Serum? Not really. I haven't really done too much with it, other than just loading these ones that you have right here and just inputting random shit. I don't really know what I'm doing here, so I don't really bother with it. What audio effects do you use on the master track? Right now? Nothing. That's actually doing something. I have a spectrum analyzer here to see the frequencies and see how it looks. I've got an effect right here called Panipulator, which is a great effect to just switching it to mono. Just switch that to mono, and it has a couple of other quick switches that I find really useful. And other than that, I just have a FabFilter Pro L that I can turn on if I want to have some extra loudness and I want to see how it sounds loud. But that's basically it. Those are both bypassed, and yeah, the spectrum analyzer is just there. Can you show me the Serum patch? Well, it's really simple actually. It's a saw wave running through a low pass filter, and in here I've got another low pass filter that is, well, I don't know, just shaping the sound a little bit. Doesn't really do that much of a difference, and it's all following this particular pattern. And I've got these two LFOs which are controlling this filter, which I think if I turn it off it just sounds pretty much the same. I don't really think it's doing that much. Okay, it's really taking off the harsh high frequencies, so that's nice, but that's really just sitting there. And I've got this main LFO that's controlling the filters over here, which is basically just it. It's just a saw wave with a bunch of voices and a little bit of detuning. Yeah, in Serum I just find it a lot easier to just use the warp modes and just play with that, and if I find something nice, just use the, you know, the rendering here or the resampling. I just find that to be much easier to work with. Or if I work inside here, I just like to draw, you know, just draw shit here, and that's just usually a lot quicker. So, you know, that's basically all I'll do there. And the unison modes, yeah, I know, I've set it to linear. Super actually sounds pretty good. I don't know how it sounds on this one. I think it's gonna sound pretty much the same, maybe a little wider. I honestly don't hear that much of a difference. Now Now I literally just have this bass going. I Yeah, okay, Super is just making the center voices closer to the main pitch. Yeah, I guess that's what it's doing, but I guess in this instance it's not really doing that because I only have 7 voices, so I only have 1 voice in the middle. I guess that doesn't really do anything right now. Let's switch it to 8. Just sounds strange in general. Let's switch it to 2. We're just getting a lot of stereo right now, I guess. Although, it kind of sounds good. I don't know. Let's do some multiband compression on it, maybe, see if we can even out the bass a bit. Okay, that makes the bass a little bit fuller. Yeah, I guess I would just have to process this a little bit. Let's add some, I don't know, maybe a little bit of filtering to it. Guess that could work. Let's do it in front of the compressor. And I have to say my computer is acting a little bit slow every now and then right now, so I'm wondering how the stream quality is, by the way, how the audio quality is, and if everything looks good, because my PC every now and then acts a little bit slow. Quality is good. Okay, that's good. It's a tiny bit blurry on full screen. Okay. I don't know, I'm streaming in 1080p, so depends on the size of your monitor, I guess. Yeah, I've been pretty good, man. I've been working on a new EP, so I've really been doing a lot of work on that. That's why I haven't really been doing too many videos. Yeah, I'm working on a new EP. Got about 2 tracks done now, and I'm not gonna show any of the tracks until I am ready to release it. But I will do videos about the tracks when I'm done. I hope I have my new computer at that moment, because that would really help to show you guys fully what I've actually done in the tracks. I think right now my computer is gonna die if I'm gonna record it. So yeah, I hope I'm gonna have my computer soon. Yeah, other than that, what I've been doing, I'm working on a new sample pack for Black Octopus Sound, which is gonna be a bass sample pack. It's gonna be mainly just bass loops and a lot of one-shots, mainly just Reese's, and it's gonna be a neuro bass sample pack basically. That's gonna go well with my neuro drum sample pack that I've already released on their website. So I've got that going, and I've got some other stuff coming soon, but I guess you guys will see that on the channel when the time is there. Cliffhanger. Ableton looks pretty sick like that too. Yeah, there's actually I'm getting so many questions in the comments of my videos. I think I've answered like, I don't know, probably about 100 now, what the skin is that I'm using in Ableton. So if you want to have the same skin, you need to go into Google and just type in pure AV Ableton skin, and you'll be finding a page on DeviantArt. That's the designer who made this this skin, and he's actually the same guy who also did the interface, the look of Serum. So that's why both Serum and Ableton actually look pretty much the same color, as you can see. So that's why I really like it. And I just like to have a dark skin because I like to work in the evening, and I don't really like that bright look of Ableton, you know, that gray look. I really can't stand that look, man. I just need something dark to look at. Yeah, I'll be doing a lot more videos when I have the EP done, man. I just want to get some new music done. I really want to get some new music done. I was checking out my SoundCloud, and I was like, how long has it been, you know, that I haven't released any proper tracks? And it's been a long time. So I really, you know, wanted to get some tracks done, and yeah, because I wanted to do a lot more in the future, so and streaming is one of them. So right now I really was wondering if my PC was going to be able to keep up with it. I think, you know, right now doing this, I just have a layer of Serum and a layer of 2 drum loops. My PC is still able to handle it, but you know, if I open any of the projects that I'm currently working on, my PC cannot even handle those projects by itself at the moment. So that's gonna be a pain to really do videos about it or to stream right now. So that's, you know, why I'm definitely gonna have to buy a new computer soon. Do you do the mastering in Ableton directly, or do you use other software plugins? I do it in Ableton directly, but before I start the mastering, I usually export my track. I export my track to separate stems, so like I'll have like the drums in one audio file, maybe even like the kick and snare and the percussion in 2 separate files, and then I have like the bass in one file, you know, everything in one audio file for every single group of instruments that go together, and just make stems, you know, and then I put those in a new Ableton project, and that's where I'm gonna do the mix down, and usually that's where I'll do the mastering as well. So I don't do it in the same project as I make the track in itself. I would love to do that, but that's definitely not gonna happen on this computer. Definitely not. I mean, by the time I'm finished with a track, I'm mostly working in audio already. I mean, I have to bounce down a lot, because otherwise I'll just get problems with the CPU. So, yeah, how long has this been going actually? Let's see. 40 minutes. Well, at least it's still going, and we haven't seen any dropouts or any issues with the connection, so that's good. Thanks, RoboRob. A lot of work has gone into making that sample pack. I don't know, I think I've worked like a few months on it. It really, there was a lot of work in it. Especially making all the loops, you know. The one-shot samples was, you know, it's still a lot of work, but it's doable. But then making loops with it, you know, that's just was a long time and a lot of effort, but I love doing it, so, you know. Not something, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's definitely fun to make samples, and I mean, I use the samples a lot as well, so that's mainly why I started making the pack. I was like, I need a pack with samples with drum sounds that I made myself, that I know I find sound good, and you know, just make something that works in the tracks that I usually make, and that's the pack that came out of it. And I was like, maybe I should release this and just have others use the pack as well, because honestly, there's so many samples in it, I'm not gonna use all of them, so why not just release it and have you guys use it? I mean, why not? So, yeah, if you wanna have the pack, if you wanna check it out, go to the Black Octopus Sound website and search for ARTFX Neurofunk drums, and you'll just find a pack like that. Yeah, but actually by now all my sample packs and preset packs have been re-released. I mean, I've had them up on my website before. I mean, a lot of you guys maybe remember that. And I had to do some decisions, you know. It was getting too much work to maintain the website and to do all the stuff. So I stopped doing the web store myself, and basically was looking around at different companies, and Black Octopus Sound came at me and they said, hey, we can take care of everything, you know, and release all your packs, and you just have to worry about making new packs and making other packs. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And by now all my packs are actually on pretty much all the sample pack stores. So we're talking about Splice, we're talking about Beatport Sounds, Loopmasters, they're pretty much online everywhere by now. So yeah, they're doing a pretty good job, I have to say. And right now it's just me. You know, I need to make new packs, and that's what I'll have to do. Do you have any hardware too? Well, I have a hardware compressor and a hardware limiter, but they're not even connected right now. So, reason for that is that I'm using a Focusrite interface which doesn't have enough inputs and outputs to use those two pieces of hardware. So I want to switch to a Focusrite 18i20, I think it is, because that will allow me to hook that up as well, and then I can actually run stuff through it, but right now I don't have that. So yeah, I don't really have any hardware, I just work in the box, mainly. Am I going to raves? And what was the last rave you were on? Wow, then I have to think. I haven't been to a rave in quite a while. I used to go to raves a lot, mainly drum and bass parties though. It's actually a cool story. The drum and bass, well, I started with gabber music, you know. I mean, it's not that I was too much into it, but I was kind of like forced to be into it because pretty much everybody around me was listening to gabber. And
riggedy wrecked, son!
Nice. So, no, pretty much everybody was listening to gabber. And yeah, I was pretty much forced to listen to it as well. And it's not really something I wanted to, but well, there wasn't really anything else to do. No, I didn't have a mullet, actually. I was also always the kid with the awkward spikes, you know, just with the way too much hair gel in it, and but no, we had this youth center in our local area, and we actually did like small parties for younger kids, and a couple of my friends were just playing around with DJing a little bit, and I usually was just there behind the bar, and these were just parties for kids from like. Thanks, Rick. No, these were just literally parties for kids from the age of like 12 to 16, and me and my friends were about the same age as well, and we were just doing these parties there with the help of the people of the youth center, and after a little while, it actually started becoming a lot more busy there, and we actually started getting parties with bigger hardcore or gabber, however you want to call it, bigger artists. So we actually at some points had like artists that are really, really famous, and they were actually coming to this really small youth center to perform for these, well, young kids actually, which was really great because all of these kids were listening to that music. So us being able to get those artists there and give these kids a great night was a really great time. But it at that moment I wasn't really producing any music yet. It's when I kind of like split off from that youth center and started doing something else. I got into skateboarding and I got into hip-hop music, and I started producing hip-hop beats for, you know, rappers and hip-hop crews from my local area. And I had some rappers living on the corner of my street that I used to hang out with, and I met quite a few rappers that are currently pretty famous in the Dutch scene. I did videos for them, helped out with filming and stuff like that. And it was actually when I started skateboarding and they built a new skate park in my local area, and I was going there pretty much like the first day when it opened, and there were a whole bunch of kids from a different town, just like. Thank you guys for all the subscriptions. I mean, I guess this stream is maybe gonna help me to get me to a lot more than what I'm currently at. So far it's going pretty good. Yeah, no, I just I started hanging out at that new skate park, and some kids from the town, like one town further away, actually came to that skate park as well, and I met a whole bunch of new friends. And these guys were already listening to drum and bass, and that's how I got into drum and bass. I think I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 at that moment, and I was already producing music at that point. I started producing music when I found out about hip-hop, and when I started listening to hip-hop a lot, I really thought like, hey, I want to make beats. And I had all these rappers I was hanging out with, so I was like, hey, I'm just gonna make beats. And I actually did quite a few tracks with beats that they used. A lot of them haven't actually been released. There were some tracks that they used only live and stuff like that, but yeah, it just was I was just playing around. I wasn't really good at anything back then. But when I got into drum and bass, yeah, we had this local club called Waterfront, and this is a club in Rotterdam. And the greatest thing about the club was it's a really small club. It only had two rooms, basically, the one big room and one small room. The small room was pretty much I don't know, a bar, pretty much, with a really small stage. And the bigger room, it was still not even that big. And the greatest thing about the club was it was a really underground facility, and with that I mean literally underground, because there's a big bridge in the center of Rotterdam, and underneath the road that goes onto that bridge is that club. So it's really underneath a crossing of the road, and the venue is really small. The podium is really close to the audience, that close. Actually, it was so close that I guess sweat of the audience has fallen on the vinyl records of the DJ. I mean, I'm sure of it. And if you wanted, you could actually touch the DJ. You were that close, and that was actually the magic of that place. And they had drum and bass parties literally every month, and they did like smaller parties every 2 weeks, I think it was, and then every month on the first Friday or first Saturday evening it was a big drum and bass party. And I've seen so many artists there. Literally talking about artists like Limewax, Black Sun Empire, Counter-Strike, Spore, ID Hidden, Raiden Audio, At Russian Optical. I don't know, man. I've seen so many artists there. Current Value. It was a really, really, really great place to go. But then at some point, you know, the economical crisis hit Europe and hit the Netherlands pretty hard, where I live. And that's when it all went downhill here, man. The club basically was it was a club, a venue, but it was during the week when there were no parties. It was actually just a place where rock bands could come to and use the rooms to practice and stuff like that. There were like small events for children during the day. You know, it was really like more like a community center as well. So they actually got money from the local government to keep the place running. But when the economical crisis hit, that funding was stopped, and that was pretty much the end of the place. So the place just stopped existing, which is a shame, because it was a great place to go to. Not only because they had the best drum and bass parties, but also you had a drum and bass party in the big room, but in the small bar room, like the smaller size room, there was maybe a smaller hip-hop group performing as well. And the greatest thing was you could just go in there and just whatever you like, everybody was welcome there. And I've had moments where there was a rock band, a metal band in one room, and the other room was a drum and bass party, and you could actually see the metalheads just walking back and forth between the two, and the same for the drum and bass guys. So it was really a great place to go to. There was never a fight. It was, yeah, just the best place, and the beer was cheap as well. But yeah, the funding stopped, and that just ruined the place. It stopped existing pretty much after that. It was bought by some Turkish bridge building company, of which I still think they do some criminal activity in that club. I'm pretty sure the guy who runs it looks like he belongs to the Turkish mafia, and to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But after that, now they're just doing deep house and Latin house parties and stuff like that. And yeah, drum and bass hasn't been there anymore. It's a shame. It was the best drum and bass venue I've ever been to. They have some new drum and bass parties now, though, in the Maas Silo, which is like a new, a different venue in our city. It's on the southern side of the city. I've been to there a couple of times, but yeah, I guess I'll have to go there sometime soon. It's been a long time that they've actually done proper drum and bass parties here. It's been recently that they've been starting at it again, so that's pretty dope. I haven't been to one of those parties yet, so I might actually go check it out someday. Prague is actually a pretty nice city. I've been there once. Not too long though. I've just been there visiting while I was on the road going to somewhere else. But yeah, it's a beautiful city, man. Really beautiful there. I would actually love to go there someday to shoot photos. I mean, I'm really big with photography as well. I love to do photography, and I mainly just travel along Belgium, France, the Netherlands, and Germany at the moment. Well, right now I haven't been traveling too much, but in the last 3 years I've been traveling pretty much between all these 3-4 countries, just exploring abandoned places and finding places that are usually off limits, like rooftops and stuff like that. And really been shooting a lot of photos. And yeah, I haven't been editing too many of the photos yet, so I actually have like, I don't know, about 3,000 or 4,000 photos that I shot in about the last 2 years, I think, and I've only recently started editing them, and there's some insane stuff in that. I'm talking about abandoned churches, abandoned monasteries, factories, some really interesting stuff. And I think it was actually the whole me exploring a couple of years that actually got my inspiration back for drum and bass as well. You know, I wasn't really making drum and bass because I wasn't just feeling the vibe anymore. I loved listening to drum and bass, but when I started producing it, it just wasn't working at all. But I find that when I was exploring abandoned places, I don't know, it really has a gritty atmosphere, and especially now when I'm editing the photos and see these photos, it just gives me inspiration to make gritty tracks and just make nasty stuff, you know? So yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm trying to move in the DnB country to have some good opportunities to be listened from people. Mate, you don't have to move anywhere. Honestly, you've got the internet. You are connected to anybody in this world if you want to. Just put in the effort and put yourself out there on the internet. That's the most powerful thing you can have. Honestly. I mean, you really don't have to move. And if you want to have your tracks listened to other people or by other people, join my Discord server. There's a whole bunch of producers in there, and they will actually listen to your tracks and give you some feedback, as long as you give some feedback to other people's tracks as well. It's that easy. It's a little bit of give and take, and then you get some feedback on your tracks, and you can actually ask your questions and get them answered more quickly actually than when you answer them in the comments of my video. So can noobs join too? Well, I don't really matter what level of production you are at, and I don't really matter what genre you produce either. Everything is welcome. I mean, there's a lot of people in my chat that make drum and bass, but as long as you try to make music, then you're welcome. And I mean, we all had to start somewhere. We all had to start somewhere when we didn't know anything as well. And you have to learn at some point, you know, you gotta start somewhere. And if you're a beginner and you want to join my chat, fine, that's cool. Join my chat and, you know, at least try to learn from the tips that the other people will give you. That's something, that's a good advice I can give you. Try to take all the advice in and actually use it before posting something else again, because there's nothing as annoying as somebody who gets advice and then doesn't listen to that advice, I guess. Well, you shouldn't always listen to the advice, but you get what I mean. True, if you don't live near any parties that you would love to go to, then yes, maybe it might be a good idea to move. It can be inspiring, yes. I mean, I have to admit, every time I went to drum and bass parties, it was really inspiring. And when I came home, I literally just didn't want to go to sleep. I just wanted to start producing and just make music. So yeah, it is really inspiring to go to a drum and bass party. Yes, definitely. When you export your song, is it okay to use the normalize button in Ableton, and what does this button do? What the normalize button does, it's actually really simple. It just takes the loudest peak in your audio file, so it will analyze your entire track that you're exporting, and it will search for the loudest peak in that audio file, and it will raise that peak up to 0 dB, and everything else is going to be raised along with that. So the loudest peak is going to be peaking at exactly 0 dB. Now, do you want to do that when you export your final track? No, You don't want to do that. Reason for that is that some systems and some hardware doesn't like an audio file that is peaking at exactly 0 dB, because it might actually start clipping. So what you want to do usually is, if you use a master, a limiter on your master when you're doing your final mastering, set that limiter to an output of -0.1 dB or -0.2 dB, something like that, so that you have that little bit of a gap, so that it's not exactly 0 dB. And then you don't have to use the normalizing, because you can use the limiter to actually bring that level up. Just use the threshold, bring that threshold down, and the level will come up. So that's how I normally do it, but I usually just have a limiter in my project like here, and it's turned off. And if I want to hear how something sounds when I just squash it a little bit with a limiter, just to kind of like get a sense of the effect of what the limiter will do, I can just turn it on and play around with the settings and just see if it works, or if something sounds off, you know, because usually you'll immediately hear it when the bass and your drums are conflicting as soon as you put a limiter on it, because if the two don't work together, you'll get a lot of distortion on your drums, basically, and that means you're either gonna have to do some side chaining or some stuff to get these two layers to sit better together. So yeah, that's something you can use the limiter for, to check if it sounds good and if you need to do some work to that. But usually my limiter is just turned off, and the only thing I have turned on is the spectrum analyzer, and sometimes I turn the manipulator on to check my track in mono, and that's just the two things that are on there. Oh, so there are a lot of people joining the Discord server. That's good. I guess it's gonna become a little bit more active now then. So I guess that's good. I would love to produce DMB with hardware, but I'm a noob with that. But I want to learn. I have a Machine Studio Pro Axiom 2225, Nord Lead, and Electribe. That's some pretty cool stuff you've got, man. Especially the Nord Lead and the Electribe. But yeah, I would say it isn't really that much different from producing in the box. It's just that the tools work slightly different. But everything else, you're pretty much doing the same thing. You might have to do it in a different way though. But it just matters, you know, it just depends on the tools that you're using. So honestly, all you'll have to do is understand the tools that you've got. Learn how they work, maybe read the manual and see how all the functions work and how all the parameters work, and then you can pretty much translate whatever you do in the box to doing it out of the box on some hardware gear. So it all depends on really understanding your gear. That's pretty much all that matters, but the same thing counts for what you're doing in the box. You gotta understand what everything does to really be able to utilize it well. I mean, yes, you can play around and experiment with stuff that you don't really know what it does, and you can get some good end results. But if you are working on a track and you really want to be able to go like, I think the kick drum sounds a little bit out of phase and I need to fix that, well, you gotta know how to do that in Ableton, how to fix something that's out of phase. You know, so you have to know that you can use the utility and you can flip the phase of the drums. That's something you got by doing this, you know, that's something you'll have to know. And if you don't know that, how are you gonna do it? You know, so it really matters if you know your tools or not. No, so when you put a limiter on your master and you set it to -0.2 or -0.1, don't normalize your track then, because the limiter is gonna take care of, you are gonna set the threshold on the limiter. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna bring the threshold down while the loudest part of your track is playing, and you just want to get a little bit of gain reduction on the gain reduction meter, so that you get a little bit of, you're basically just taming the peaks, and you're pretty much squashing them into that 0 dB mark, and then the output is set to minus 0.1 or 0.2, and that will take care of that little bit of a gap and make sure it's not going to be clipping. So yeah, it's really not that difficult. I mean, it's a proper mastering usually is a little bit more than that, but if you have a mix down, if you have a good mix down, then the mastering is pretty much gonna be bringing the loudness up, and nothing more than that. I mean, it's all in the mix down, if you ask me. Mix downs are a lot more important than the mastering. And yes, I am from Rotterdam, the Netherlands. Where are you from? So I have to say, answering all these questions has actually been going pretty well. And I haven't even been too inspired to make some music at the moment. So, oh, you are from Rotterdam. That's nice, man. That's cool. Where in Rotterdam? It's always fun. I live pretty much, well, just south of Rotterdam. I don't live in Rotterdam, but oh, you live in Rotterdam South. Really? Maybe if I scream really loud, you might be able to hear me then. Oh, you live close to Feyenoord. Okay, that's pretty... yeah, that's pretty near me. My sister actually lives really close near the Feyenoord Stadium. So... any tips for creating a sound library? Well, I've actually just started making a new sound library. What I do, when I make tracks, I'm usually working on sounds. Like right now, I'm working on this bass, and usually what I'll do is I'll just be making a bass like this, and when I'm happy, I'll bounce that bass down to audio, and I'll include the key inside of the file name. Usually include the key, and if it's a loop, I'll include the BPM as well, and that way it will be really easy to implement that into a track. Then what I do is I bounce that stuff to audio, and I save those inside a folder. Now I've just started making a new folder, which is this one, and you can see I have a folder in here, and then I just have like a file here, atmospherics, hits, tonal atmospherics, and then I have this sound. Now that might be a little bit loud. By the way, I love the low end on this. But that is just made with, you know, just processing sounds, and I was just playing, I think I was playing around with Omnisphere and with, I think it was Evolve by Heaviosity in Contact, and I was using those two to create two separate layers, and then I was really just forcing that through some saturation, and that created this particular sound. And I'll just save that to my folder, and I'll save that with the key in the file, so I know that this particular sample is in the key of F, and I'll do that for all the things that I make. So right here I've got a folder with pretty much just basic Reeses, so these are really basic. See, these are just really basic Reeses, and I can use these. I can put them in a sampler. Like, for instance, we can take a MIDI track, and you can see when I create a new MIDI track that my PC is really slowing down. So I can take that and I can, for instance, put this one in here, just drop it in the MIDI track, and let's wait for that to load. And I usually like to work with the sampler device. I like the sampler a lot more compared to the simpler. I don't really like the simpler, especially because every time you throw something in there, it automatically warps it, which I don't really like. I haven't found a way to turn that off yet, but if somebody knows how to turn that auto warping feature off, then please tell me. I've been trying to do it. I've created a default thing, and yeah, I haven't been able to get that out of that. So yeah. I see you have the Doru Malaya folder. Do you have the full library? You mean the full... Let's see. Yeah, I think I have the full library, yes. You mean the 8K Super Drums? This one. Yeah, that's pretty... I think this is the whole library. I'm not sure, but I think it is. I actually, when I started producing, I bought like I bought a box of DVDs from eBay, which is probably the most illegal stuff that you can get, but I just bought like a DVD box of, I think it was like 12 DVDs that I just got sent to me in random packages. Just, there wasn't even something on it. No text, no stickers on it, no text, no writing on it, just 8 or 12 DVDs that somebody burned, and they were pretty much full of vocal samples, full of acapellas, and full of samples. And I think this pack was on there as well. So yeah, that's how I got it. I think I've had this pack for like, I don't know, probably up to 10 years. I've pretty much had this. I think this pack actually is being loaded from one of my oldest hard drives. So yeah. Will you make a channel with your music? What do you mean? I mean, I've got a channel already, a YouTube channel, where I'm streaming this on right now. And I've got like, what is it, 52,000 subscribers on that, so I pretty much have a channel. And when my new EP is done, it will be put on that channel as well. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel and click the little bell icon, because you'll be notified when I upload the EP. Yes, wow, where did you find it? Well, I found it on eBay. Well, like I told you, it was pretty much a whole bunch of DVDs, and on there was just samples, samples, and vocals. That was everything that was on there, and that folder was part of that too, together with the other one, which is the ethnic Super Drums, which I honestly like pretty much as well. It's just a whole lot of samples of pretty much any kind of, I don't know, any kind of... Let's make a Christmas tune. So, yeah, you know, it's definitely great to use these kind of samples when you're making drum and bass, especially these kind of ones. Put some reverb on it, especially if you make deeper drum and bass, like deeper rolling tracks or technical tracks, or sometimes even in Liquid, you know, just use this with some delay or some reverb. It's definitely gonna sound good. And you can use that, you can sample stuff from YouTube or sample stuff from, what I like to do is I like to search for FLAC, so FLAC, FLAC files. I like to search for those on Google. If you just search for like percussion FLAC vinyl rips, and usually if you include Blogspot in it as well, you'll usually find some Blogspot sites that upload vinyl rips, and you can find some great samples in those, absolutely. So just look for the really like the percussive ones, and you know, the drum-based ones, and you can get some great samples from those. So, yeah. These packs are called the Dorumalaya packs. So, I don't even know if the company still exists. These packs are really old. So I don't know if they exist anymore. But if they do, then, well, grab them, because I don't think they'll actually be that expensive, and they're really good. It's just a lot of samples, you know, and I mean some of them are more usable than others, but they're pretty much all completely dry, which is really good. I love cowbells a lot. Well, I think they have cowbells. I think they have quite a bunch, yeah. And the greatest thing is that they're also pretty much sorted by pitch. These ones are the lowest, and they just get higher in pitch, so that's pretty great. I mean a separate channel with your done tracks. No, I'll just upload the tracks in this channel and I'll create a playlist. So I'll just create a playlist for the tracks of the EP, so you'll be able to just play the playlist. As easy as that. I mean, it would be crazy to make like a new channel for just my music. I mean, I've got 52,000 people subscribed to this channel, so why would I make a new channel if I want to get the most amount of exposure possible on my upcoming EP? So it doesn't make sense to do that. So honestly, it would be a much better decision to release the tracks on this channel. The guy that made them died. Oh really? Oh shit. I didn't even know that, honestly, but yeah, I've been using these samples for so long I can't even remember when I used them for the first time. Yeah, that's sad. I mean, I would have loved to actually give him some recognition in my videos, but yeah, so how long has this been going now? We haven't really been doing too much. Oh yeah, I was actually gonna show you something with the sampler, I guess. So, you know, you can just throw these samples in here after you made stuff, and you can see I'm just making a lot. Just making them with different synths. This one is made with F-Made. Got one with Massive. What was a genesis of your name? I'm not sure what you mean with that. Maybe rephrase your question. Then we've got some that I made with Raw. And you know, that way I'm just making samples. I'm putting them in all in the folder, and you can see I've all labeled them with the key. And whenever I'm making a track, I can just start working from this. You know, I don't have to start designing that reese. I can just put it in here. I don't know, just take one of these, put it in here, and just create a loop. Just create a loop like that, and start putting in some MIDI notes. That's way too low. Let's drop this to F1. And I usually like to give it a little bit of a crossfade. And then you can just start pitching it up, maybe. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's switch this to 12. Set the voices to 1. Go to the pitch channel. Come on, yes. And turn the glide on. Bring it up. It's about there. Let's see. So you see, that's how you can use that, and then you can work with it like that. You can link the two. What's your favorite synth? My favorite synth at the moment, I would say it's a tough one, but I think it's gonna be Serum. If we're talking about third-party synthesizers, then it's gonna be Serum. But on the second place, I would say for third-party synths, it's gonna be Operator, or Omnisphere, I mean. Omnisphere is great and I use it a lot, especially for like atmospheric sounds, but I've been starting to use the synthesis engine as well to make really interesting pads and interesting, crazy, weird sounds. You know, you can really make some unnerving sounds with it. Same goes for Contact, which is also something I love to use, but that's not really a synth. And let's see, yeah, for just native stuff, I love Operator. Operator is my go-to synth for a lot of stuff, just because it's native to Ableton Live, so it's really quick to work with, and I love doing that. Is the audio directly coming from your DAW, or is it picked up by your mic? It sounds kinda damp. My audio is running through my mic, and then it's running through voice meter, so I can actually turn the EQ up a little bit to the high side, like that maybe. Does that sound any better? Maybe it sounds a little bit less damped. Good idea with the noise gate on your mic channel, but it's annoying when you don't have any noise floor. I'm pretty sure there is some noise floor on here. My computer is actually pretty loud. I turned the vents down on the computer, so that maybe has done the trick. I can turn the gate off. The gate is off right now, so maybe it sounds better that way. You know, if you guys think something is wrong with the audio, or if you think I should change something, then definitely tell me, man. Definitely tell me. So yeah, you can see how working with this can really help to make cool sounds. And you know, I have like the entire file to work with, so you can really do some crazy shit. And you can, you know, add maybe a notch filter to this. So you can then, if we zoom in a little bit, maybe do something like that. And now is the best thing of this is you can maybe add, let's add a pitch envelope to it, just for the sake of, so we can and maybe make it a little bit bigger. And now you can actually just start dropping in other files that you've made. And you get a different sound. And I think I just heard my dog barking downstairs. How did you learn sound synthesis? Was it just practice, or did you study books on sound design? When I started making music, there wasn't really anything in terms of video tutorials. There were a few video tutorials on YouTube, but it was really little. There wasn't really that much there, and the ones that were there were not really that good, which is pretty much the whole reason I started my channel. Now, not saying that I made good tutorials when I was just starting out. I mean, a lot of you guys like them, but when I think back at it and when I see those videos now, I'm like, holy shit, I was horrible at teaching. I was horrible at making music. I was horrible at making videos. And I've come quite a long way, but yeah, no, I mostly just learned by experimenting. I've never been to an audio school. I've never had private lessons with another producer or anything like that. I did, you know, I did hang out with other producers, and I had some moments where a teacher, one of the rappers that I used to hang out with was actually also a music producer, and he produced a lot of the beats and the videos that those rappers were doing. And I was hanging out at his house pretty much every day. He lived on the corner of my street, where I still live to this day, and I used to hang out with him, you know, just hang out with him at his house. And he was also a teacher at the SAE Institute in Rotterdam. And during the holidays, we would pretty much use the studios non-stop. Pretty much, we would sleep at the facility and just be producing in their studios. I mean, during the holidays, nobody's gonna be there, nobody's gonna be using the studios, so we just started working there. And I mean, he was a teacher, so he could get access, and he said, hey, listen, if you want to produce in one of the studios, then go along. So I would, pretty much every holiday, I would be producing in their studios for completely free, which is really great, because I got to play around with some really crazy gear. I'm talking about Supernova, I'm talking about, well, the monitor speakers. I mean, they were using the Mackeys HR824s, I think it was. Damn, those speakers sounded great compared to the ones that I have. So yeah, working in that studio really was great. And I did learn quite a bit of him. Not really much in terms of drum and bass producing, but mostly just in terms of producing hip-hop beats. So yeah, I still owe a lot of my knowledge to him, but pretty much everything when it comes to sound design and synthesis for drum and bass, I pretty much learned that by experimenting and reading a lot on forums back in the day. I was a big user on drum and bass forum, and I was more of a lurker on Docs on Acid. I didn't have that much post there, but that's where I learned a lot as well, just hanging out on forums and talking to other people. And the whole reason for me to start this channel was also to kind of like create a place where, you know, was knowledge to be gathered, because there wasn't really something like that on YouTube or on the internet. It would, other than forums, there wasn't really much. So I thought about starting the YouTube channel. I've heard Seamless saying the same thing, and I think we actually started about around the same time, and we had pretty much the same reason for starting as well, so that was pretty cool. But I didn't really learn from books. I had a few books that I bought and read, but I can't really say that I learned my knowledge from books. No, not really.
Riggedy wreck, son!
Are you waiting for a new Ableton X? Thanks Ryan for subscribing. Yeah, I'm waiting for the new Ableton X. I don't know if they are gonna name it like that, but I will be getting that upgrade for sure. I think they're actually gonna make a notice of it in November. I think that's when the loop event is. I have a feeling that they might release something on that event, and if not, it's probably gonna be really early in the next year that they'll at least release something like a news message or anything like that. Did you manage to figure out how to automate the start and end points in Sampler's loop region? You mean like just being able to do that and automate it? I haven't been able to find that out. I don't think it's actually possible. You can do stuff like that here, I think. See, you have the loop start that you can do, but there's no loop end. So, you know, if there would be like a loop start and a loop end, that would be great, because you would just map them to the same knob, just offset one of them so that they at least stay the same distance from each other, but then so that you're able to actually move them at the same time. That would be great, but there's only a loop start and the loop end is not part of it. So there's a loop length though, but you can, well, maybe it's actually, maybe you should be able to do it with the loop start and the loop length. Let's see. If we make the loop bigger and then set, let's do to the mod wheel. Let's set the loop length to the mod wheel. Bring the amount up all the way. Let's see what that is gonna do. So we're gonna go to the modulation, and we are right now at the bottom. So that makes a really, this actually makes a really short loop. A really short loop, you can see. And if I now automate the mod wheel, we should be getting a longer loop. So we can actually automate the length, and we should be able to automate the start position as well. So we can get quite close to automating the entire thing, but let's see. Let's see what happens if we do the loop start. So I guess it's still possible in some kind of way. I mean, you can get some really crazy effects with this. I mean, I haven't really been playing around with this too much, but so you can do some crazy stuff with that, but I'm not sure. The loop start doesn't really sound that good to me. It sounds a bit choppy. That sounds nice. Any futures you're hoping for in a new version of Ableton? Well, I can think of quite a bunch actually. First of all, they have to fix the pitch bend bug. That's the first thing that they need to fix. When you have like a pitch bend going on and you end the clip, then you go back to another clip and it starts playing at a completely the wrong pitch. They should fix that as soon as possible, because it's been way too long since that's been going on. Other than that, well, there's a lot of stuff that they could add. The MIDI editing needs a lot of work. I mean, the MIDI editor in Ableton Live is pretty basic. If you compare this one to the FL Studio one, I mean, there's a lot more to that one. And also, there's, I think there's a lot of stuff you can add to this DAW. I mean, if you compare it to other DAWs, there's quite a lot of stuff you could add. I mean, I can't really say much from the top of my head, but I'm sure that if I'm gonna sit here and just really think about it for a minute, I think we'll be able to come up with quite a few things that I would like to see added. Yeah, the pitch bend bug is getting on my nerves. Yeah, absolutely. Same here. Especially when you do neuro, you know, and when you do a lot of pitch bends, it might get frustrating. So that's why I like to bounce stuff to audio as soon as possible. Sidechain with freeze channels would be awesome. Yeah. You mean being able to freeze a track that has a sidechain compressor on it, or being able to freeze the input? Hello, are you Dutch? Yes, I am Dutch. And yes, I think the closed beta of Ableton is actually already on. I think I've heard some people talking about that they have been working on a new version of Ableton. So there's definitely work going on with the new Ableton. So how long has this stream been going? Because it's actually been going pretty well, I have to say. My OBS recording software shows no dropped frames. The frames per second just looks steady at 25. So yeah, it looks really good. Like, I might have to I might check out tomorrow to actually work on some of the on one of the tracks I've been doing for my AP. I might be able to do that and show you that and test out if my computer will keep up with that, because that's a track. We're talking about a project with like 40, 50, 60, maybe even more tracks, so might be a little bit more than we're doing right now, but we'll be able to test it out tomorrow. Let's see. Might be a good idea. Sneak preview for the EP. You can go to my Instagram. I posted some videos on my Instagram with some small clips here and there with the tracks, and that'll give you a small little view of it. I'm not gonna share too much yet. And if I'm gonna do like a stream about one of the tracks, it'll probably be about one of the tracks of the EP, and all the other tracks are gonna be hidden until the EP comes out. But yeah, I might be able to do a little preview of the EP tomorrow maybe. If I can do another stream, try out if working on the track actually works, and if my PC doesn't die. Release date for the EP. Well, I don't really have a release date. I just work on the EP until I think it's done, and then it's gonna be released. I don't have a label yet either that I'm gonna release it on. I'm thinking about releasing it on Bandcamp, but I'm not sure, because I do want to take care of, you know, getting the track licensed on YouTube and stuff, so that when, you know, just being able, I want to be able to sell the track on, you know, like the big web stores and stuff. So it's either gonna be Bandcamp or a record label, but I'll have to find a record label first. I haven't really been spending any time sending stuff out to record labels for a long time. The last release I did was, I think it was a glitch hop track on Digital Womp that I did. I think it was the glitch hop EP. And I released like a free drum and bass track that honestly I just had lying around. But I think other than that I haven't really done any releases in the past 2 or 3 years. So yeah, it's really the last drum and bass release I did was in 2013, I think. And it's still up on Beatport. It's really shitty drum and bass, by the way, but it's still up on Beatport. So if you want to check it out, search for ARTFX and you'll find some of my old drum and bass, which sounds pretty shit. Now, how long did the EP took you? Which one? The one I'm working on now? Because I've only finished one track and the second track is like almost done. And I've got about, I don't know, 15 projects that I started in the last few months, of which I'm just gonna pick a few to finish and put on the EP. And honestly, I don't know how much work I've been doing. I really don't know how much work I've put into these tracks. Some of them might be 50 to 100 hours. Other tracks might just be done in like a few days. It really depends on the track, basically. It depends on the inspiration, and that's pretty much all. Love your work, leaving me hanging. What do you mean? You asked if there was a release date for your EP, and I answered, right? So, hello. Russian name, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. So yeah, we've been going for, let's see, I think we've been going for a good 1.5 hours. 1 hour and 40 minutes. Do you guys have any questions maybe before I end the stream? What do you use the most for mixing your channels? What do you mean? I usually just work with a compressor. I like to use just the glue compressor, which is great. I mean, the glue compressor that's built into Ableton, that's great. And other than that, just use like, I love the Waves API compressor, which one is it? I think it's the API. Let's just look it up. Let's see which one it is. I really like that compressor. It's in the Waves folder. It's the Waves API 2500. I really love that. Love that compressor. It's a great compressor. I use that pretty much on every channel in my track, and when I'm gonna be doing the mixdown, I'll usually have stamped everything down to like pretty much what you see right here. So this is my template for my tracks. This is pretty much what opens up with Ableton. I have all these tracks set up. I pretty much have like a stem for the kick and snare, and then I'll usually have all the percussion combined in one stem. And usually I like to have, if I use any orchestral percussion in a track, like in the intro and the build-up, I'll usually like to have those separate in a stem, because, you know, that's just gonna be easier to mix than when I have that combined with the other percussion, because the epic orchestral percussion is usually a lot more low-end heavy and a lot stronger than the normal percussion, so I like to have those separate. And those three elements, the kick, snare, the percussion and the orchestral percussion, run into a drum bus. So I'll basically have like one audio file here, one audio file there, and one audio file in the orchestral percussion, and that will then run through the drum bus, so I can affect them separately, and then I can affect them on the drum bus. And I like to put the API compressor on pretty much every track, even though I maybe am adding like a tiny bit of compression. I just find that compressor to sound really, really good. So yeah, I love that compressor. This stream will be in video on your channel. Yes, I'm gonna be putting this video on my channel as well. So the video will be uploaded to the channel after I finish the stream, and then it will be available for you guys to watch as soon as it's processed. Hey ARTFX, what is the best VST to produce neurofunk sounds in your opinion? There is no best VST for neuro sounds. All that neuro is, it's mostly just making basic sounds like any other genre of music, and then you just apply more filtering to it and more processing to create more movement than usual. And that's just all there is to the neuro sound. And it's all about creating rhythmic sounds that go well together with your rhesus, and that's pretty much all there is to it. It's not really a matter of which plugin is better than what other plugin. Most of the neuro res bases are made from 2D tuned saw waves. So any synth that has 2D tuned saw waves is usually good for making neuro basses. Just apply some filtering to it, work with a bandpass or a notch, work with the two together, split it up into bands, process those bands together, bring them back together. You know, it's all about that. And I have to say, something you can also play around with a lot is delays. I had a delay set up in the original bass that I had in this in Serum right here, and I set up a delay. I think I used LFO number 5 right here, and that is connected to the dry wet of the delay right here, so that comes in at certain parts, and without it sounds like this. And then with that delay, it just really adds to the sound. So you can just play around with that, you know, and just delays can be really interesting to work with. You just gotta take care of the stereo field. Just make sure you're not really having too much low end in the delay signal, but delays on your bass but also on percussion sounds are really, really great when you make neurofunk. Really. Delays are great to play around with during sound design and resampling, because they can actually create some really odd rhythms that you otherwise probably wouldn't have thought of to make, and that's some really powerful stuff. I've been using that technique a lot lately to actually come up with interesting stuff, to just use delays to process sound, because it becomes much more complex when you put a delay on it. Any synth or lead or pluck or any kind of sound like that, same for basses. If you put a delay on it, it can actually turn it around and really make some crazy rhythms, and then just start processing that. Just put filters on the signal after the delay, and just put filtering on that, start saturating it, maybe distorting it, just go crazy, you know, experiment a lot, and every moment that you hear something that sounds nice, just bounce that to audio into your folder. So like I have a folder here called ARTFX Final Toolbox. In here I have a folder called Bass, and there I have a couple of folders. One is hits, basic rhesus, so this is just a rhesus with no pitch bends, and then I've got loops, bass lines. And so you just get some stuff like that, or and I can also put my racks in here. If I made like a rack with some processing, I can put that in here as well, so I can use them later on. But that's just all I'm doing, you know, just put stuff like that into your folder, and every time you have something that sounds nice. Because that way you just build a library of sounds, and at some point when you're making tracks, it becomes a lot easier to make tracks. So yeah, I've been really doing a lot of sound design recently to make interesting sounds, and yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing. Let's see, we've got some questions. How about any tips for writing melodies? Melodies, yeah, well, let's say you're working in a particular key, okay? Let's just make something really quick. Let's just do it with a piano. I find pianos to be really good to just make melodies with. So let's hope that this loads quick. So let's say you're working in a particular key. Let's use the key of F minor. F minor is usually a good key to work in for drum and bass. So let's just do F minor. Make that a bit quieter. That was loud. Sorry guys. And we can drop that down to you can do something like that, or you can maybe go up here, and when you've got some chords going, it's pretty easy to make a melody around it, or you can just start with one chord. That usually works as well. Just start one chord, and what I like to do when I make melodies, I like to stick to the pentatonic version of the scale I'm working in. So if you have the F minor scale, you can do the F minor scale, which is, I think it's this. I think this is the F minor scale. Might need like, is it gonna be that? I think this is the F minor scale. I'm not completely sure though. I can look it up. I have a handy website that I use a lot to find information about the scale, because I'm not that good with music theory. I know a bit about music theory, but I'm not that good with it. So there's a website that I use a lot, which has a bunch of well, really helpful tools about scales and chords and stuff like that. And I can actually put that in the chat. It's a really handy website. The website looks like shit, like it was made in the 90s or the early 2000s, but there's some great tools. Just use the scale finder a lot. The scale finder is great to finding out information about the scale. So let's do that right now. Scale finder. And I'm gonna see the F minor scale. So you can just input a few notes in there. I can actually bring it to this window. So we've got the scale finder here. You can see we can go to scales, scale finder, and then you get this. We can just say like F and G sharp and A sharp, and just do this and find me a scale. and it'll just show you all the scales with those notes. Now I can see F natural minor. You can click that and it'll give you all the chords that are possible within that scale, and it'll give you the notes of the scale. So I'm gonna bring that down to my other window again. So we have F, G, G sharp, A sharp, C, then we should get a C sharp, D sharp, and F. Yes, so that's good. And then the pentatonic version would be taking out these two. So the pentatonic would be this one, would be this. And making a melody with that version of the scale is much easier, and definitely when you want to have some things that sound a bit more funky, it's great to just work like that, because you can just hear it sounds good already, and this is just a tonal ladder, and that's a thing you can really play around with. And I find working with the pentatonic scale just makes it easier to write good melodies, and that's usually just what I do. I just play around with it, and what works well is to start on the root key and make a melody, and to have that melody end either on the root key or one note above. So like that, or maybe here. So you can hear okay, so let's so that kind of works. And then we can drop this to C maybe, or drop it to C sharp. And drop that one to C minor. And we are a little bit off. Let's just quantize that.
Riggedy, riggedy, wreck, son!
You can see just playing around with this scale makes sense. This might not be the best thing to do, but So you can see that's just, you can really make melodies quickly with the pentatonic scale. Let's see, what do we got? Yeah, so do we have some more questions? Did you use two Max for Live plugins? Max for Live plugins is actually pretty cool. Max for Live is really helpful. I use it quite a bunch, but I haven't used it right here. By the way, I have to stop because my parents are home now and I have to stop the stream, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna be starting a stream soon again. I hope you guys liked it, and if you want to see more streams, then join this channel. Subscribe to the channel, click the little bell icon to be notified whenever I go live. I might do another stream tomorrow. That's it for today, guys. See you soon. Peace.